Okay, ito po ay ang ikapito po, the first week of August, and we're together again today. Well, one of the good news today is si Ka Mauro will be delivering 6 copies of his China, The Way, the Truth, and the Life. Mamayang tanghali, magkikita kami sa newest Goto King ng misis ko na binuksan dito sa East Capitol Drive sa Barrio Capitolio. Well, tuloy ang hanap buhay kahit na maraming peligro po na hinaharap ang mundo because we are employing a lot of people. And ang kalkulasyon po namin ng misis ko, hard times ahead, parang 1983. Nung sinimulan namin yung Goto King, one stall lang sa SM Cubao ang simula. Pero then, like now, times were very difficult. That year, 1983, di ba, na-assassinate si Ninoy Aquino at nagkaroon ng napakaraming crisis. And it's the same situation here. So nasabi ko nga, well, maybe it is a good time to risk setting up another store, magbukas ng isang store, kasi hard times na naman. Naghahanap siguro ng murang pagkain na mahusay ang kalidad ang taong bayan. And which is true. It's a hit dito sa Barrio Capitolio ngayon, itong bagong Goto King. Better than expected. And so that's a good news. But again, the economy. Yan po ang ating. Kaado, ikaw naman, anong bagong mga insights mo sa mundo?
Ay, nako. Marami akong implikasyones na didiscusin mamaya, lalo na rito sa mapa ng CNAS, War Games dito sa Taiwan. No? Maraming hindi nakakaintindi ng mga implikasyones dito.
Yes.
Pati ultimong CNAS, hindi na naiintindihan ang maximum implications. Masyado silang narrow at masyado nilang nililimit dito lamang sa Northeast Asia ang conflict. Pero abangan ang susunod na kabanata ay kakakamento. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat at magandang araw kung saan mang parte ng mundo kayo naroroon.
Okay, and we're waiting for Kaana. Papasok daw siya a little later. May out of town din ata sila ngayon ng pamilya. I'm not sure, but we will wait a while before we communicate with her. Si Bob, good morning ka, Mentong. Matagal na akong nakikinig sa inyong mga past radio stations, programs. Mula pa 2004. That is 16 years ago. Am I right? 2 plus 2004. Yeah. More. 18 years ago. Thank you, Bob, and hope you communicate more often sa ating mga diskusyon dito. Dindo Dorano is with us. Maayong buntag. Bisaya po yan. Kamentong Kaado, Ka Joshua, and Kaana. Ka Joshua, if you have time, if you can join us. No? Teng Manalili, again, a relatively new name. Good morning po diyan sa inyo, mga maestro at maestra. Salamat po sa tiyaga ninyong pag-aralan ng mga issues upang mabigyan kami ng tama at balancing impormasyon. Alam po ninyo, talagang halos isang buong araw po ang paghahanda po ng mga balitang ito. At kulang pa. Dahil up to the last minute, pagkagising ko, mayroong bagong development sa dapat isama. So we do this small discussion before we go to the main agenda. Noel Rivera is with us. Good morning. Sabi ni Noel Rivera, Teng Manalili, gusto ko po sanang manalo ng libro. Okay. Ka Joshua, di ba we still have one copy of Mauro's book diyan sa iyo? Okay, Kaado. So today, let's have Kaado. Let's be more anong tawag dito? Charitable today. Let's add two prizes, no? 2 winners, no? Kasi meron din natutulog dito nung
charitable, generous.
Okay. Meron yung natutulog dito kasi yung LED light and fan, rechargeable fan na bigay ni donation ni Jerry, and I don't want them to stay too long dito. So we will have two winners today. Well, all these of course are in preparation for ang aking projection. One Huawei watch in October ba ang birthday ni Artemio sa Ricarte, no? Yung up to the last hindi po bumigay sa alok. 3 beses inalokan ng US ng amnesty dahil siya ay revolusyonaryo laban sa Amerikano. Hindi po niya tinanggap. Kaya I think this is a new hero that, not new, but a hero that we must popularize to remind people that the number one enemy today is still the Americans. Itong nangyari sa Taiwan Straits, which we will discuss very extensively later, is an attack not only on China, but on Asia. They want to divide and rule Asia again. Hindi pumayag ang China this time. And we will discuss that a little later on. Si Daria Borinaga ko, magandang umaga. At sa lahat ng mga viewers din, sabi niya, Labuyo, good morning from Muntinlupa. Aldo Garcia, good morning. Mentong Kaado, I've been tuning in your Wednesday night and Sunday morning shows the past few months. Can I join the raffle? Of course, we welcome all of you. That's why we have the raffle. It's for all of you. And eventually, everybody will win something. Basta't buhay pa kami ni Kaado, may pag-asang mapapanalo po kayo. And dito sa Facebook, mahaba na palang listahan dito. Hindi ko na. Si Juliet Camaro, mabuhay, sabi ni Juliet, and Brian Pineda, Jerome Pineda, good morning. Deng Veluz, Andresa, good morning. Watching here in Hong Kong. Kimura Divina B. Dolores, beautiful Sunday, Kamentong ka Joshua. And let me see, James Moore Moreno is also here with us. He's also abroad, no, si James Moore Moreno. Riza Abisamis Sumawong, good morning po mga maestro. Sabi ni Juliet Camaro, congrats, let me see. Congrats about what, Juliet? To whom? Anyway, Wilma Acosta Ison is with us. Jose Carada is with us, watching from Ternate, Cavite. Freddy Oredina, masipag si Freddy Oredina mag-share ng ating mga broadcasts and so on. And sabi si Risa Abisamis din, hinabol ang kanyang bati sa lahat ng mga nanonood at nakikinig. Juliet Camaro, ako rin, so matagal nang listener. Oo nga, si Ka Juliet, and in fact, Ka Juliet was directly active sa ating grupo. And so, saludo po tayo kay Juliet. And si Juliet also evolved and elevated her consciousness about world and global and in fact universal issues. No? Lani Sangalang, good morning. Hope to hear you over the radio soon. O kung nga pinapalo ko nga si Kaado, siyang in touch with RP1. No? Pero hanggang ngayon wala pang appointments yung mga tao doon, yung mga sabing ilalagay. Kaya siguro hindi makagalaw. Gobyerno kasi po yan, di ba? But kami ni Kaado, ni Kaana, ni Ka Joshua, we stick with the government station because it's free for us. It represents the nation. Wala pong interest sa likod po nito na pansarili. Dapat. But of course, nasasabak din sa politika yung mga administrators ng network. Si Kaana is with us already. Mabuti nagising si Kaana. She's so overloaded. Kaana, good morning.
Good morning po. Good morning sa ating mga kabansa. Happy Sunday.
Anong top of mind mo, Kaana? Pagkagising mo, anong issue? Wala. Yung mga anak mo muna.
Oo.
Okay. Si Jolito Argeles is with us, and Apu Leon Lacan, the number one threat to the world peace is the USA. Absolutely correct. Antonio Miguel Carlos, good morning everyone. And so, Yeah, we were just discussing ni Kaado kung anong top of mind niya. But I think it's the top of mind of many people in the world yung tungkol sa Taiwan, which we will focus on in a while. Habang tayo ay nagbi-build up po towards the main issues, let me just start with this debate nitong sa Kabataang Party List. Nasabi, bakit takot ang gobyerno na humarap sa ICC? Sagot naman ni Senator Bato, ikaw rin, kung totoong makabayang ka, bakit ka takot sa ROTC? Well, sa akin, itong point nitong Kabataang Party List guy, talagang inane, meaning walang katuturan because Russia, China, US at iba pa, wala din sa ICC. Sila ba ay takot sa ICC? Di ba? Inane point from the Kabataang Party List representative, whoever he is, mukhang Kenkoy na bata, no? But and of course, we can also this is a very interesting discussion too. Yung kontrapartidong pananaw ni Risa Hontiveros tungkol sa anunsyo ng Chinese Embassy kung nire-reaffirm ba ng Pilipinas ang One China policy, yung in-address kay Trixie Cruz Angeles, or si Trixie Cruz Angeles ang nag-respond. And sabi ni Trixie Cruz lang naman, dapat DFA ang mag-respond dyan. Actually, that is all that she said. Kasi Trixie Cruz Angeles is being very careful. One can observe that. In fact, sabi ko nga kay Kaado, si Trixie Cruz Angeles is more interested in maintaining her responsibility as spokesperson instead of being all out as a really outstanding spokesperson. Sobrang maingat pa siya. Well, we will, of course, need to give her time. Sabi kasi ni Risa Hontiveros, don't lecture Philippines on its foreign policy. Wala namang lecture na ginawa ang Chinese ambassador. But yung kanyang trabaho ay yung normal na gawain ng isang ambassador na tungkol sa policy. At humingi lang siya ng confirmation ng One China policy, which obviously there is no question it is. We stand by the One China policy. So I can even say that with absolute confidence kasi we know it's a government policy. Sabi naman ni Marcos, Senator Marcos, the Philippines remains steadfast in upholding the One China policy, and we trust that the People's Republic of China recognizes our commitment to peace and prosperity in the region. Ayan po, napakalinaw po, which is correct. Senator Amy Marcos's statement. Meanwhile, of course, tuloy-tuloy ang magandang ugnayan ng Pilipinas at China, and this is of course the latest, just 23 hours ago, kahapon. So this is now today, 2 days ago, inanunsyo ni Chinese Ambassador Wang Xilian, China-Philippines Inspection and Quarantine Memorandum will be extended for 5 years. More farmers in both China and the Philippines will benefit from agricultural trade. Since China and the Philippines signed the memorandum in October 2016, sipin mo how many years, almost 8 years na po yung memorandum, no? The trade of agricultural products between China and the Philippines has become more diverse. Apart from 30 kinds of agricultural products imported by China from the Philippines, our two sides have successfully signed protocols on importing the Philippines frozen fruits, fresh coconuts, and avocados into China. From 2016 to 2021, China's imports of live fish from the Philippines increased 24 times, and 2.4 times, more than double, the double and a half. Bananas increased by 18.7%, pineapples increased by 95.8%, fish and shrimp increased by 1.1 times, double din. This is fantastic. Ilang daang libong mga manggagawa at mga pamilya nila sa mga ganyang industriya ang nakikinabang po dyan. So itong mga Risa Hontiveros, ayaw nila ito, ayaw nilang progreso at kabuhayan na lumago sa bayan natin for the sake of their personal ambitions. Kaana, balikan natin itong tatlo, which is the item. You have been, of course, fighting for Philippine-China understanding talagang with all your might, no? The past 2 years at least, ano? Na medyo nakalibre ka sa mga bata ng kaunti, pero hindi pa rin. But would you like to add to these reports? Wala yung audio.
Wala si Kado.
Then, nawala ka sandali. You'll be back.
Oo. Tawag nito sa akin naman kasi, malinaw naman na pagdating sa ekonomiya, ang strongest partner natin talaga is China. At saka, yun nga, when you talk about agricultural products, actually malaki ang, kumbaga malaki ang ano natin leeway natin na ma-maximize yung market ng China sa pag-export ng ating mga agricultural products at dapat tutukan natin yun kasi sayang yung opportunities na nandyan. Though, kailangan din talaga we have a good relation with China as an economic partner at sa neighbor natin. So, dito sa Taiwan Strait, malinaw naman ang posisyon ng Pilipinas na, we adhere and we honor the One China principle. Ang One China principle naman kasi, it's not a debatable issue. It's not a negotiable issue. Hindi yan disputed. It's really a norm in international relations and it's a bedrock of international law. So, wala nang debate dyan.
Yeah.
Ganun lang yun Kasi may mga ibang tao, they are trying to debate na we should not side with Taiwan and China and all that. It's not about that. It's really just one thing. The One China principle asserts or declares that Taiwan is part of China. So wala nang debate dyan. Hindi yan pinagdebatihan. Ang tanong lang dyan, if a country like the Philippines would adhere and honor that or not. But thus far, yung Pilipinas naman ganon ang ating posisyon. So mabuti naman. Ang ano lang natin is, yun nga, yung ating foreign policy, di ko alam kung magkakaroon ng pagbabago or ewan ko lang. Tignan natin kasi may mga bagong development sa meeting ni President Marcos with Blinken na medyo ambivalent ang ating posisyon on certain issues.
Yeah,
Well,
go ahead, please. Tuloy mo. I just wanted...
Ang gusto kong tumbukin dyan naman, Mentong,
sige, Kado.
is that the world, buong mundo, under the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 2758, has passed the One China policy and has rendered illegal the membership of Taiwan in the United Nations. Lahat ng member ng United Nations, with the exception of only 14 countries, ay hindi nag-o-observe na One China policy. Pero katulad ng, ang dapat malaman kasi ng madla, may sariling diskarte ito Estados Unidos. Kaya ginagawa ko ng 15 countries yan. Just like the United States invokes the United Convention on the Laws of the Seas, yung UNCLOS. Pero ayaw naman niya i-ratify it. Ang sinasabi ng US, nire-recognize namin ang One China policy, pero we regard this with strategic ambiguity. This is in line, this is in direct class of the true world order versus the rule-based order of the United States. Na dahil sa kayabangan, dahil sa hubris, dahil sa arrogance, at mala superpower pa, hindi na uso single superpower ngayon because of the realities in the world.
Yeah.
Nagpapakitang gilas pa, Katulad nito si Biden. He disowns the Pelosi visit to Taiwan, but does nothing about it. Gamit-gamit government airplane. Both Biden and Pelosi are Democrats. Alam mo, matanda na ako, pero mas matanda pa sa akin itong American Matt and Jeff strategy. Pag tinanong mo si Matt, ibang pananaw na Amerika. Pag tinanong mo si Jeff, ibang pananaw ng Amerika. Kaya, alam mo, especially tumalaw si Blinken.
Si
Ha?
Kaana nakangiti. So may ipapasok si Kaana siguro, Kaana.
Hindi, kasi ang ano ko lang, may mga tao kasi na ang dami nilang sinasabi, hindi nila tinitignan ang historical context. Dapat kasi tignan nila ang historical context kung bakit ang Taiwan is part of China at kung ano yung mga declarations at saka UN resolutions at agreement in the United Nations tungkol dito. Kasi yun nga sinasabi ko, ang Taiwan, it's not a debatable issue kung paano tayo puposisyon as a country. Kasi as a country, malinaw talaga. Dapat ang posisyon natin na we acknowledge the One China principle. At the same time, ang Taiwan is not a country. So ganun lang yung kasimple. So hindi na kailangan yan sabihan kung saan ka papanik, kung sa Taiwan at China. It's not the issue eh. Kasi Taiwan is part of China. Ganun lang yun. Pero ang usapin kung saan ka puposisyon between the United States and China, or kung we will have a non-aligned stand, or tinatawag mong neutral stand about the whole thing, yun ang malaking usapin sa bansa natin. Yun yung dapat, I think, bigyan ng tuon at talagang pag-isipan ng current administration. Actually, ang China is not asking us to side with them. Hindi naman hinihingi yun. Ang sinasabi lang, we need to have an independent foreign policy na genuine. And then, huwag tayong makigulo sa hindi natin gulo. Kasi may ipit tayo dyan. At hindi kaya ng bansa natin at this time around, sa dami ng problema, na maipit pa sa isang nag-uumpugang malalaking bato. Yun yung kasi marami akong nakikita at mga comments na naririnig na para bang may debate pa dyan sa Taiwan issue. Walang debate dyan. Ang debate right now is ano ba ang genuine foreign policy ng Pilipinas? Are we a non-aligned country? Are we on the side of the United States? That's dangerous, no?
Yeah.
So yun yung mga debate dyan na dapat pag-isipan natin mabuti at sana ang current administration will have the wisdom and the foresight to see what will happen in the coming days.
Yeah.
Because that issue is not just about now. It has ramification and in the coming days.
Yeah.
So yun yung dapat natin isipin.
May dadagdagan ako, Kaana. Itong sigalot dyan sa Taiwan Strait is not new. And yung historical perspective niyan goes back to 1867. Itong Taiwanese American na si Zhong Xiangyu, napakinggan ko po siya at yung ginawa niyang mga research. And sabi niya, the first country that ever attacked Taiwan with a warship was the USA in 1867, and the country that in 1867, ayan, na doble ko yung ano. And the country that supported Japan invading Taiwan during the Mudan incident. Ito po ay isang insidente na involve ang Okinawa. Okinawa was at that time tributary state to China. So part of China in Chinese history, it's considered part of China yung Okinawa. Which of course most people forget now. In-invade din ng Japan ang Okinawa at tinake over. But anyway, nagkaroon ng pagpaslang ng I think 47, massacre of 47 Okinawan or Ryukyu yan sailors doon sa Taiwan. Gumanti ang Japan. And the country that sold weapons to Japan in the first Sino-Japanese War, yung Qing Dynasty versus Japan, leading to China's defeat to cede Taiwan to Japan. That was the US also, in collaboration with Japan from 1894 to 1895. The country that actively pushes up to today, for Japanese containment of China and Taiwanese containment of mainland China is the United States. From the 19th century until today, sabi niya. So we can really say that the United States is, can we really say that the United States is our friend? We are being used to serve US imperialist interests, sabi nitong Taiwanese American. We'll go back to that later on. It's item number 16. But yan ang history po ng So this is not a short-term issue, itong Taiwan Straits at Taiwan. And this is part of the several hundred years Western attempt to contain China and to defeat completely China. In fact, kung pwede nilang gawin, gagawin nila na pagwatak-watakin o paghiwa-hiwalayin ng iba't ibang mga parte ng China, which is also what they're trying to do sa Russia. Bati tayo kay Anton Tungpalan. Good morning daw, Anton Tungpalan. Sabi, bless you, watching from Novaliches, Quezon City. Mabuhay po kayo, sabi niya. Madami po kaming natututuhan sa program niyo. Vilma Encarnacion, Gozo Herona Brandi, Alpehanba, Yorta Hanba, and Jesusito Fermin, Okay Paul, Jonas Biag, and Ronel Batang is with us dito sa another Facebook site natin. Noel Rivera is here with us now, and BJ Walkin, yung Greek Cyrillic dito from Moscow, no? Good morning sa inyong lahat. Baba D, good morning to everybody here at mga kabansa dito sa thread natin. Rene Ranoa Rasadev, new name from my recollection, no? From Rolly Rosales of Wales, United Kingdom. Rolly Rosales, all the way sa UK. Let me see, did I skip anyone? Oh, si Nancy Bicolana, nag-donate ng $10. I assume this is US dollars or Hong Kong dollars. Thank you very much, whatever denomination it is. It will be very helpful sa ating pagpapalagana po ng ating mga diskusyon. Sabi ni Bob, long live Philippine-Russia-China relations. Ang economic development ay nag-shift na sa east mula Russia patungong Asia gaya ng China. Esperanza Khan is watching from Cebu. Bobby Fajardo, good morning daw. Boy Gaspar, good morning daw, sabi ni Boy Gaspar. Labuyo Aldo Garcia, good morning. Yeah, I think we read that a while ago. Nancy Bicolana, thank you again. And let me see, Joe Chaneth, PH, Rain Cloud is also with us. Sabi ni George Chaneth, pansin ko po, pareho talaga ang galawan ng Dilaw at US. Manggagalit, tapos kapag pinatulan, pabiktim. Yun na nga, tama, very good. Si LC Xiao, kahit na yung mga bansang kumikilala sa ROC, Republic of China, yung Taiwan, ay sumusunod din sa One China policy. There is no such animal as the Republic of Taiwan. Those who insist so should be institutionalized pronto. That's a good angle. Kahit na yung mga nagre-recognize sa Taiwan, nagre-recognize sila ng One China policy. BJ Waken, just a clarificatory question. Didn't Secretary Carlos just said yesterday that we follow the One China policy? Really great to hear from her. That's correct, no? There's a subject before we start the formal agenda fully. Let's go back to Carlos for a while. Huh? And okay. So let me see kung sinong nadagdag dito sa Facebook na isa. Neth Vegs, watching from Taguig. Jerry Escobar is with us. Macorona, sabi ni Jerry Escobar, my big problem with China is One China is its basis based on ancient history that is no longer applicable at present time. Besides, if classic history is what the present Chinese government will go to unite itself, question is, whose dynasty will you prefer? Well,
It's not an ancient, oh my God,
yeah.
Go back to your history. It's not an ancient history. It's after Second World War. It's only like, what, 50 years ago? Try to go back and research on this, no? Before speaking.
Actually,
okay, I mean, nakakainis sa ganito kasi, alam mo, kailangan yung tignan, mag-aral kayo, no? Kasi mahirap yung nagsasalita ka, pero hindi mo alam kung anong sinasabi mo. Kasi sabi nga ng mga kaibigan ko sa international community, nagiging katawa-tawa ang Pilipinas sometimes. And I don't like that as a Filipino, no? Nagiging laughing stock ang bansa natin.
And that's why we're, that's why we're here, Kana, no? To help spread the historical knowledge. And we appreciate Jerry Escobar's question. Question naman siya. No?
It's a
But,
question. It's good. It's a
the
question.
question.
Yeah.
No? So, actually 1949. That's why it is called the Chinese Revolution. Binaliktad ng Chinese Revolution in 1949 yung buong struktura ng China. From a feudal society, they started working towards a modern society. Ang kababaihan na ang estado nung bago nung revolusyon, even under the ROC Kuomintang at the time for a while, no, secondary to the male in society. Yun ay binaliktad. Sabi nga ni Mao Zedong, women hold up half the sky. In others, equal partners. So, malaking revolutionary change po yun sa kultura and so on. No? So, there is a starting point of modern China. That is 1949. Okay, Arnel Bernardino, we are Third World War, siguro near, because we're trying to be like America. Mabuhay po ang China, mabuhay ang China at Russia. Kasama mo ang mga Pilipino sa laban mo. Thank you. Rogelio Arizapa is also with us. By the way, again, reminder, everybody join. We'll have 2 prizes. The Book of Kaado, Paglinawan. So there will be 2 winners today, no? And the second winner will get the rechargeable emergency light and fan, na donated by Jerry without the family name. Okay, so that's a very good review of history. So let's move on. What about yung debate ni Risa at ni Madam Amy Marcos?
There's no debate. Ako lang ang nagtandem ng photos nila.
Okay. Ikaw bang gumawa nun?
Ako ang gumawa nun. Walang
okay.
debate. Hindi naman sila nagdebate sa Senado. Ang sabi ko lang, napaka-ignorante ni Hontiveros. For a senator not to know about these things. Nasa Senado siya, di ba? Dapat hindi siya ignorante kasi nakakahiya. Senador pa naman.
Oo. Well, pumapapel lang. Like most of what the senators do, pumapapel lang para mapansin. At yung mga botante niya na dilaw at anti-China ay matuwa. Itong Japanese character na comment dito, the Ukraine narrative is dying. Kaya the warmongers are taking their business on this side of the world. Alam po ninyo, and Kaado, I want you to react to this. No? I believe the reaction of the United States to the military drills of China in this present case of the Taiwan Strait crisis is already leading to the conclusion that the U.S. will back down and will ultimately accept to be a smaller part of the world in a multipolar world. Kaado, what do you think?
Parang sa akin tapos na ang boxing. Dahil unang-una, magpasalamat ang Amerika kay Pelosi. Si Pelosi ang nag-break ng tie dito. Dahil before Pelosi, wala namang kibit ang China dito. In fact, bilib ako, napakahaba ng pasensya ng mga Chino. Inabot sa panlimang telephone call. Panlima between Xi Jinping and Joe Biden para talagang idiin na todo ni Xi Jinping sa mukha ni Biden mismo at sa pagdinig niyang diretso na Biden, you are saying one thing but you are doing the opposite. Sinabi niya ni Xi Jinping diretso kay Biden before even this Pelosi visit. Kaya pagdating din sa Pelosi visit, talagang kasukdulan na. Hindi na, iba lang pinalalabas nyo rito. Ini-encourage nyo na mag-secede or mag-declare ng independence ang Taiwan sa China, which is, hindi na, ang hindi kasi lumulutang dito, Mentong, is that the People's Republic of China is perhaps more constituency, accountable than the United States. Tingnan mo, Ang United States, sinasabi ng United States, one China policy kami. Anong ginagawa ng mga leaders ng US? Itong strategic ambiguity na itong mga paglalaro sa mga destinies ng ibang bansa, pakikialam, mamaya, hihimayin ko yung mga kasalanan ng Amerika.
Okay.
Iisahin ko yan. Ang hindi nila naiintindihan,
tama.
pagka ganyan ang behavior ng China government, tanggal sila. Mayayari sila. Because they have to be transparent. They have to be accountable to the Chinese people.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
nasaan ang tunay ng demokrasya?
Yeah.
Nasa Taiwan ba? Nasa Amerika ba?
Yeah.
Sabi nga nung isang Australian writer, wala namang demokrasya sa Amerika. Ang meron sila, do-no-cracy.
Okay. Sige. Kaana, habol, before I greet, let me just greet muna Alexander.
Isa lang ang tingin ko dyan, ang sinasabi kasi ni Akaado, doble cara. Alam naman natin kung ano ibig sabihin ng doble cara.
Well, the article I'm now writing in preparation for our media forum tomorrow and for the PNA, may segment ako doon sa anong tawag dito? Strategic ambiguity is treachery. We'll go into that later. So si Alexander Matulak is with us, Greg Salazar, Ched Peña. Ched Peña is watching from Australia. Nenya Maitem, siguro Ilocano, no? Pero sa Maasin City, Maasin is in summer ba? Kaana?
Southern Leyte.
Southern Leyte. Okay, Leyte pala.
Maupay nga aga.
Ayun. And Anton Jr., Agari Tungpalan, may Taiwan learn from Iraq, which was once a U.S. ally but eventually became their enemy after the then Iraq president withdraws his support from USA. Likewise with Osama bin Laden. Tama po, no? Okay, let's move on. Yes,
yung
yes,
Ukraine. Look at what's happening. Yung Zelensky, ano yung ginagawa niya kay Zelensky?
Durog na ang Ukraine.
At saka iniiwan na sa ere si Zelensky. Dahan-dahan.
Mabuti kung iiwan lang sa ere, baka patayin pa yan, paibintang sa Russia. Tulad ng ginawa nila kay Ngo Dinh Diem naman sa Vietnam noong 1975 ata, 73. Such a long time ago. Maraming mga viewers natin hindi pa pinapanganak noon, but let me remind you that the Americans have assassinated their boys very often in many countries. Bata nila kanilang pinapatay para magamit as a martyr, and tulad ni Ninoy Aquino. And sino ba yun sa Panama? Noriega. Noriega, ikinulong nila. Presidente ng isang bansa na bata nila, kinulong nila.
Kinidnap muna. At kinulong sa Guantanamo.
Yeah.
Grabe.
Kaya takot na takot ang Estados Unidos na matalo sa China kasi natatakot sila na gantihan sila. Pero China, and I think all of the rest of the world is more mature than that. We just want peace and prosperity para mabawasan ang mga kahirapan sa mundo. The next item po natin is going to be very interesting. Pina-flash ni yung mga articles po natin, but let me just go to the Aboitiz situation, Kasi ngayon pinangalanan na po ang bagong Energy Regulatory Commission Chief, ang lawyer Mona Lisa Di Malanta, named ARC chairperson. Lumabas po August 5 itong ulat, pero ang importante po sa ulat, sabi dito, prior to her appointment, Di Malanta served as the legal counsel and compliance officer of Aboitiz Power Corporation. According to Press Secretary Trixie Arnales Cruz, she also chaired the National Renewable Energy Board. Bakit Aboitiz na naman? And this one is directly from the Aboitiz Corporation, hindi tulad ni Department of Energy Secretary ngayon na Aboitiz executive din, pero nagkaroon ng period na siya ay naging independent director kuno na as if it mattered, At Aboitiz, puppet pa rin yan. Ano? Kasi matapos siya maging ERC, babalik na naman yan in one way or another sa Aboitiz Group. Now, this Mona Lisa Di Malanta. What is the message being conveyed in this? Ano? Quick reaction lang because we have many other topics. Rado.
Revolving door, isa pa dyan yung Jose Rene Almendras, labas-pasok sa gobyerno, pagbalik balik din sa mga amo-amo niya. Alam mo ito, pagbabayad utang lang ito, ang hindi sinasabi kasi ni BBM, gustong malaman ni Anang Maestro, magkano ba ang kinontribute ni Aboitiz sa kampanya mo? Bakit ka nagbabayad utang ng ganito?
Yeah.
Magkano rin ang mga intereses na attach sa Aboitiz, katulad ni Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, ang kinontribute sa kampanya mo, diretsahan tayo sa tao.
Right. Yes.
Kaya lalong dapat bantayan itong mga ito.
Yes.
Dahil pagka may ginawa kapalpakan to, walang excuse. Kailangan expose kagad.
Yeah. Kaana, any reaction?
Walang masyado, pero nagtataka lang ako kasi it seems that yung energy sector parang mga naa-appoint galing Aboitiz. Medyo nagtataka lang.
Well,
pero nag-observe din.
Panahon din ni Duterte, si Kusi, Aboitiz din yan.
Yeah. So dito natin makikita ang katotohanan sa lipunan po natin. May control po ng lipunan natin. Hindi botante. Ayan, yan ang totoo. Ang may control ng lipunan po natin, kahit na anumang magandang intensyon ni PBBM, itong mga may hawak ng bilyon-bilyon na kanilang pinamkam mula sa taong bayan mismo, itong mga oligarchs. Yan ang totoo. Kaya po ako, bukas na bukas ako doon sa aking sinasabi na ako'y laban sa eleksyon. Sa kasalukuyang sistema natin, pera-pera din po yan. Kahit na ang isang kandidato ay sabihin natin marangal at kailangan din yan ng pera para may propaganda material siya, baka kailangan alagaan ng ilang mga tao sa COMELEC, kung ano-anong pong mga dahilan. Mga abogado, syempre, kahit si PBBM has to spend a lot for lawyers and so on, and papasok yung mga may pera na ito, tulong namin sa inyo, bawi na lang kami later on, which we are actually seeing. I am not going to blame PBBM yet because this is not a revolutionary government. He never declared that. Pero kailangan natin magkaroon ng revolutionary government because we have shown in so many shows na consecutive, mga 2-3 consecutive shows natin po. Tayo pinakamataas na singal sa kuryente sa buong ASEAN. Hanggang ngayon, for the past 20 years na po yan. Paano papasok ang investment kung ikaw ay pinakamataas na kuryente? Siyempre pupunta sa iba muna. And that is the fact na the statistics show. Kulelat ang Pilipinas sa foreign investment for all these decades. Ayan hindi po natin nakikita sa mga media, pero yan ay laging pinapaalala natin. And yung isang image natin, which we will not show today, nilabas po ni Ka Joshua, ang kuryente sa China, kalahati or even less than the Philippine power prices. Yan po ang chart po, which we have shown 2 or 3 times already.
By the way, may breaking news
Yes. What's the latest?
China, dun sa nangyayari ngayon still sa Taiwan Strait. That's part of I think targeted sanction ng China. Is China has prohibited use of the phrase made in Taiwan on any product the island now exports to the mainland and now must use the name Chinese Taipei or Taiwan China. Apple yun, computer, Apple is asking all its suppliers to follow the regulations. So, yun ang sinasabi ko
Yes.
Hindi na yan, yun nga sinasabi ko na we really need to understand that China is not the China 100 years ago or 50 years ago. It's really it's a modern China, it's a powerhouse in every aspect. So I think we really need to understand the dynamics, as a country, para hindi tayo maipit at hindi tayo magkaroon ng problema.
Yes. So, Sebs Alvarez has a long commentary here. Let me just read part of it. Ang Vietnam nga na known arch enemy yan sila. dahil sa Spratly claims na massacre ng mga Chinese Navy men ang mga Vietnamese doon. Actually, hindi po massacre. Naggera talaga ang Vietnamese Navy at ang Chinese Navy. Yung massacre yung walang kalaban lahat. Lumaban din ang Vietnamese. But anyway, kinikilala pa rin po ng Vietnam ang One China policy. Sana si PBBMD magpadala ng udyok nitong US. Very good. Thank you, Sebs Albert.
Balikan ko lang sandali itong si Aboitis, no?
Oo.
Abangan po natin kung si Melvin Matibag ay ma-retain na chairman ng National Transmission Corporation at yung kanyang asawa ay ma-retain sa WESM. Yung po yung market ng kuryente.
Yes.
Para tingnan natin kung kumpleto na yung ano nila, yung kanilang barkadahan dyan. At baka sakali, si Kusi, ma-appoint din dyan na na consultant o senior advisor, being the president of PDP Laban and another Aboitis Tuta. No?
Kaana, hindi ba may hinahabol ka? Well, itong last line ko dito sa issue ng Aboitis and oligarchs controlling energy. Hindi namin kinakalaban si PBBM dito. Sana ang magamit niya yung ating mga batikos para iharap dito sa mga oligarchs na hindi na po pwedeng sobrang marami kayo dito sa gobyerno ko. Baka sumabog ito. Magamit niya sana bilang bala sa kanyang pakikipagtungo dito sa mga oligarchs. Kaana, go ahead please.
Hindi, ang ano ko lang doon, ang kanyang tatay, si Ferdinand Marcos Sr., was more on trying to renationalization or nationalization of basic industries, o basic public utilities ng bansa. Yun yung mas okay sa akin. Yun yung palisiya. Kasi when you talk about basic and public utilities like water, energy, electricity for that matter, transportation and all this, these are common good, these are public good, and the state should be the one handling it. Though hindi ko sinasabi na wag mag-participate ang private sector, but the state should have a control over this. Kasi kapag yan napunta sa control ng mga oligarko at saka ng private sector, pag nagkalintikan dito sa bansang to, tipok ang Pilipino. Ganun lang yan kadali, kasimple. So ako, ang ano ko talaga, advocacy ko talaga is to nationalize this, no? And dapat ang Estado ang may control dyan. Kasi like for example, water. Diyos ko, ang mahal-mahal ng tubig dito, ang mahal ng kuryente, ang mahal ng komunikasyon, ang mahal ng transportasyon. Wala namang kontrol ang gobyerno dyan eh. Kasi privatized siya na deregulate eh. Deregulated yan eh.
Okay. Well, our next item is of course yung announcement natin ng ating media forum bukas sa Kumaling Bakery Cafe, assessing Philippines' position on Taiwan issue of not rejoining ICC and their impacts on the Philippines.
Yes, tomorrow.
Yes, bukas po alas 10 ng umaga. You can join via Zoom, all of you. At ang mga panelists po ako, si Kaado, si Kaana, si Professor Bobby Tuason backed out at the last minute, but hindi na mabago yung ating poster. And of course, Wilson Lee Flores is also going to be with us. So that's an announcement. Now we go to the 3 articles now published in the Asian Century Journal natin. Ito ay ating sariling journal. Si Kaana, by the way, is leaving for Beijing maybe end of the month. We'll ask her about it later. But she can still send in her articles sa ACJ and you can follow her reflections and analysis on the Asian Century Journal. At para mabuksan po niyo yung Asian Century Journal, just type in small letters asiancenturyph.com. Napakasimple po, asiancenturyph.com. Yung ating core group of writers tulad sila Mauro Samonte, sila Rod Kapunan, may mga articles po dyan ngayon. So exclusively sa ACJ. And of course, si Kaado. And so si Kaana wrote this article that came out August 4, just 3-4 days ago. hot war brewing or over the Taiwan Straits, implications and lessons. Can you give us a gist, Kaana? Tuloy pa ba? Tingin mo magkaka-hot war pa ba?
I'm not sure.
Mm.
It's something that we don't want to happen, of course, kasi apektado ang Pilipinas, but it really depends on the situation on the ground. Pero ngayon ata ang last day na by 12 noon ng military exercise ng China in the Taiwan Strait, no? At saka feeling ko naman kapag walang untoward incident na mangyari, or at the same time ang Taiwan will not do anything crazy, or the United States, I think maiwasan natin yung hot war. But
Yeah.
of course, ang ano na yan, ang area na yan will not be the same anymore.
Yeah, well, ang mga ginawa ng China, we will explain later in more details. But now let's go to Kaado sa article. Pelosi's reckless roadshow destroys American credibility and goodwill in East Asia.
Not only in East Asia, but the whole world actually. Ginawa ko lang East Asia ito dahil pertaining to Taiwan, no? Pero actually, I have a long list of American sins against the world, no? Starting over 2 centuries. The US has subverted and overthrown numerous governments. Meron siyang military at saka business complex that depends on war for influence and enrichment. And the records show that the US is the most aggressive and most violent country in the world. No? It assumes a moral superiority na dinideny naman niya sa iba. At saka bulag siya by its own ideological delusions and self-righteousness. Aba, mahaba itong listahan ko ng mga gera-gera since 1776. Mentong, the US has never had a decade without war. No? Since its founding in 1776, the US has been at war 93% of the time. And these wars have extended from its own hemisphere to the Pacific, to Europe, and most recently to the Middle East, and now back to East Asia. So yan. Since World War II, mga kabansa, 201 out of 248 armed conflicts since the end of World War II ang nilaunch ng US. It maintains 800 military bases around the world, including Australia. Ayan. And the Philippines.
Including us.
Oh, including the Philippines.
Kaya nabanggit mo ka, Mentong, yung hot war, ang i-discuss ko mamaya, yung ramification nga, no? Kasi ang nag-project ng hot war dito, itong Center for National Security ng US, no? Yung CNAS. Ang implications nito, grabe. Ewan ko kung nababasa nila ito, no? Kaming dalawa ni General Vic Corpus ang we joined our heads together in studying this. Napakahaba lang, kaya maya-maya na lang ng kaunti. Pero para sa akin, the politics, no? Gumawa kasi ang Amerika ng Pacific Security Lake niya. Kung gusto niya mag-one China, ayaw niya mag-one China policy, we will also encourage the Hawaiians and the Alaskans to secede from the United States because of a clear and present danger na maapektuhan sila ng mga nitong hot war if it hits Taiwan, no? Alam mo, Taiwan ang magsusurvive dito sa hot war na ito. Hindi yayariin ng China ang Taiwan, Mentong.
Yes, yes.
Hindi yayariin ng China ang Taiwan. Yayariin niya lahat na nakapaligid dyan. Perhaps maybe the exception of South Korea because the reunification talks now between South Korea and North Korea is ongoing. Medyo ang puso niya nasa China.
Okay.
By the way, Mentong, na-mention ni Kaado yung South Korea. Alam ba ng ating mga kabansa na si Pelosi hindi hinarap ng presidente ng
That's
South
right.
Korea.
That's right.
Nandun lang siya sa Seoul, pero ang justification ata may diarrhea or something, pero hindi siya, hindi niya hinarap. Ang humarap lang is a little foreign minister ata or something.
Nag-iingat
O
din yung
someone,
presidente.
Oo, sabi ko, OMG, ano ba yan, snob? Na-snob si Pelosi.
Si Personaldo, kasama natin Tom 5717, Almansor, sa Yaman, very informative daw ang discussion natin dito. Paidol Suya, KNSHLA, go with topic na. Okay, and good morning, Madam, from Nancy Bicolana, or at Nancy Bicolana from Kavlog. Nancy Bicolana, okay, Elsie, Rene Ranoa is here. Queen Z, help PBM to know and check these things. Alexander Versosa is with us, Crusade de la Torre. Noel Rivera, I don't think the US will just back down and readily accept their diminished role in the world. Like an aging boxing champion, they will not go down without a lasera. Well, actually, maraming ganyan ng tingin at gagawa ng gera, but I think one of the things about the United States is they don't get into a war where they cannot at least get a draw.
Ang ano ng United States, may ganun talagang possibility na they will not just accept the fact that they are a declining power and they will decline. Talagang ganon ang tendency. Kahit anong gawin nila, ganon talaga. Pero ang ano doon is, if they wage too many wars at this time around, they will implode in a matter of time as a country. Kasi marami din silang problema domestically in terms of economics and all that. So, and they were waging a war against the world, against many countries. Kasi ang mga nangyayari dyan, like for example, Taiwan Strait, no? Though ang ano dyan, ang makikita mong primary player dyan is of course China and the United States. Taiwan is part of China. Hindi yan, as much as possible, China will not allow it to deteriorate or to na masira yan. Kasi kanila yan. Siyempre, they will protect it to a certain extent.
Okay.
Pero kapag ang dalawang yan, ang primary player mo dyan, ganyan, no? China and US. Pero tignan mo naman ang buong mundo, how many countries actually is criticizing the US at the moment? More than 100 countries are standing by the one China principle as against the US. So ang nangyayari sa US, it's waging a war against the developing world of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. So mahihirapan din sila if they will not really wake up and really, look at their situation. Yun nga, kawawa ang American people kasi marami namang mababait at magagaling at well-intentioned Americans eh. Problema talaga nila ang kanilang deep state.
Yeah. Let's go quickly to Ado kasi ngiting-ngiti siya. Ano ba? Very quickly lang.
Medyo kamahaba na kaunti pero bibilisan ko. Alam niyo ba kung saan nanggagaling lahat ito? Sa unang Amerikano, kay Christopher Columbus. When he first came in contact with Native Americans, dyan sa Arawak people ng Bahamas. No? At ito sabi sa Columbus Journal na sinabi ni Columbus, they willingly traded as everything they own. They do not bear arms. They do not know them. For I showed them a sword, and they took them by the edge and cut themselves out of ignorance. They will make fine slaves. With 50 men, we can subjugate them all and make them do whatever we want. Analysis ng teacher na nagsabi nito. It is a very European mentality stemming from the oppressive political and religious structures of the Renaissance. Kings and priests with absolute power ruling masses who have none. That was the mentality of the man who discovered America, and it is the mentality the American society struggles with today.
Okay.
What we know now is a dominant culture's justification for their actions.
Okay.
Yan ho, pinaghuhugutan yan.
Okay, very good history. Very good history and really explains a lot. No? Anyway, Desimina is with us. Di po ba pwedeng tanggalin kung susuway sila sa policy ng presidente regarding energy? Well, we of course that's what we're trying to do, to educate and then argue this case, ano. Prime Acevedo is with us, Ilocanong Dako, big, you know,
Dako big.
big, no. Kung ayaw mong matulad kay Doc Yumol, huwag magsumbong sa authority kung may makitang ano, katiwalian daw. Teron James, Parwan Valensuniga, good morning. Hoven Merin, Hovencio Merin. And then Elijah Prophets is with us. And let me see dito, GJ Hoxon, a new name, OJ Hoxon. BJ Joaquin Florence, Jerry Escobar. Okay, and Franklin is with us. Who else here? Sebs Alvarez, I think I mentioned na, no? Okay, I also have a new article, August 4 po dito. Sabi ko, US commitment to Taiwan worthless kasi paulit-ulit sila Nancy Pelosi, we are committed to the democracy in Taiwan. So, dito nga, wala na silang magawa. Hindi na sila makatravel for 4 days by sea or by air across the Taiwan Straits. May nagawa bang Amerika? Wala. 2,000 na. Yesterday, it was 1,000. Today, 2,000 mga exports ng Taiwan to China. Binan na ng China. 2,000. Mabibigyan ba ng hanap buhay ng Amerika ang Taiwan? Hindi. Magbebenta sila ng armas yun. And then anyway, I want to move on because I have to go and take a break and maybe Ado can take over for 1 or 2 minutes. Yung article naman ni Rod Kapunan, lumabas na rin sa ACJ, August 3, our diplomacy should not be in anticipation to what the US will do. In other words, yung diplomasya po natin laging may isang tenga sa ano bang magiging reaksyon ng Estados Unidos. Dapat tigilan na yan. So, do you really be independent, no? Kado, please take over for 2 minutes, if you will, please.
Okay, babalikan ko lang itong sinasabi ko kung may papakita ni Joshua yung litrato ng tit-for-tat bombing attacks. Yung senaryo ng CNAS. Significant ito because of the following. Kung napakita na ba, Joshua, please? Ayan na po. Simulating 3 attacks on China mainland by the US, yung blue. Itong war games participants drew out 11 possible Chinese retaliations. The US attacks will most probably come from the US surface ships and submarines or US aircraft na napakalayo ng Amerika. China does not have to launch a single Navy or Air Force equipment to do its job. Ang powerhouse po ng China will come from the Dongfeng advanced missile technology launch from the Chinese mainland. In fact, ito ang hindi nakikita ng CNAS. One of these potential missiles could tip with nuclear warhead intended for Hawaii. Ito po yung Dongfeng 31A. Ito po ang China's newest road mobile solid fuel intercontinental ballistic missile that can carry up to a single 1,000 kiloton to 150 kiloton multiple independent re-entry vehicle, yung po tinatawag nilang MIRV, reaching 11,000 kilometers, far enough to reach Hawaii up to Los Angeles. Dalawa ang intended for DF-26C or Guam Killer. Ito po yung kanilang interregional ballistic missile with the range of at least 5,000 kilometers. Ubus po ang Guam dyan. Pero itong senaryo ng CNAS para sa akin, Kabentong, is an understatement. Bakit? Hindi nila kinonsider that China already has the DF-41, yung tinatawag nilang CSS-20, capable of being armed with 10 or 12 MIRV warheads with a range of 12,000 to 15,000 kilometers. Ano ibig sabihin nito? This is the world's longest range missile, surpassing the range of US LGM-30 Minuteman ICBM. in-anticipate ng CNAS ang US sending its aircraft also. Magpapadala ang US ng aircraft from Basa Air Base in Pampanga in return. Yung Dongfeng short-range missiles naman, titirahin ang Basa Air Base at saka ang Port Magsaysay sa Northern Luzon. Hindi nila anticipate on any retaliation against South Korea dahil friendly na, para sa akin, friendly ang South Korea sa China. Pero kami itong kaana, mga kabansa, ito ang magkakaroon ng malaking kaguluhan in the next few weeks. What is not being discussed here is that in the event of any US attacks launched against China, the total devastation will not be on Taiwan.
It will be on the
Japan.
Philippines.
No, Japan.
Japan.
CNAS designated 7 targets in Japan. From its northmost Chistose Air Base below Hokkaido to its southmost Cadena Air Base in Okinawa, home of the largest U.S. military installation in the Asia-Pacific region and the 18th wing of the 5th Air Force. Mauubos ang Japan dito. Kaya kayong mga Hapon, kayong mga nakikinig, no, ng mga kaibigan namin sa Japan, bulungan nyo na yung mga kasama nyo mga Hapon dyan. Walang matitira sa Hiroshima at Nagasaki.
Yeah.
Pupulbusin kayo. At ang
may-
Amerika nakatanga lang, nanonood lang habang kayo ay lulubog sa ilalim ng dagat.
Okay,
Oh,
Baitan.
okay, sandali. Ay,
Sige, go
susugan
ahead.
ko lang ng konti. Kaya tayo sa Pilipinas, kailangan natin mag-isip-isip. Okay, isip-isip tayo. Kasi nakita ko doon sa news ngayon lang na para bang may defense expanded pact tayo na ikino-consider with the United States. Hindi, lumabas kasi sa news yung meeting with Blinken and also with the government officials ng bansa natin like PBBM, I think, and Manalo, na parang there's this what you call expanded defense pact na kino-consider. And then another one is kino-consider patrolling the South China Sea together with the US or exercises with the United States. That's really, I don't know. I think we need to rethink, no? And we need to be very careful. Muna,
Isa lamang,
wag na natin dagdagan ang init sa lugar na yan. Kasi ang South
Isa
China
lamang.
Sea is very near to the Taiwan Strait also. You have to look at the geography, no? So isip-isip.
isa lang sa mga sinabi ni Bongbong at ni Manalo ang agree ako. Philippines-US ties must evolve. Pero, para sa akin, onto abrogation. All this talk about the Philippines having an independent foreign policy para sa akin is a lot of horse-paki. No? Tain ng kabayo. With the Mutual Defense Treaty, Visiting Force Agreement, and Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, and the 2016 ruling on the Permanent Court of Arbitration, ang dice po natin is loaded in favor of the United States. Hindi po ito in favor. This is to, in fact, the disfavor of our genuine national interests. They are swords hanging over our heads and our national security. Nagkaroon ng pass dito si President Duterte, no? We had to posture kasi we had to posture from 30 years of subservient foreign affairs with the US onto building a friendship with China. But the world has changed tremendously since the onset of COVID-19 pandemic. And now we're seeing the decline of the US as the world superpower and its weaknesses have led to the morphing of a multipolar world, no? This new setting requires not just cerebral strategies, mga kabansa, but deliberate mechanics, joint patrol, oh my God, of the West.
Ito. Philippines welcomes possible WPS joint patrols with the United States, reported by Philstar, and the other ones reported by ManilaTimes.net. Marcos Blinken, expanded defense pact amid shared challenges. I don't know how this will, no?
Ito na, i-recommend ako effective today na si Manalo gawin ng ambassador to the United States at si Clarita Carlos ilagay na sa Foreign Affairs at maglagay na ng bago National Security Advisor si Bongbong Marcos. Yan ang dapat na kombinasyon, mga kabansa. Si Dave Romualdez, umuwi na muna sa Maynila para maituloy niya yung public relations servicing niya ng US Embassy. Yan, mga kabansa.
Pero I would agree, no? Nag-agree ako kay Kaado. Actually, si Ma'am Carlos would be better. Well, wala naman akong problema na yan. As NSA naman, nandiyan na siya. Pero kung tutuusin talaga, mas maganda talaga si Ma'am Carlos as DFA. Kasi alam niya yung dynamics sa international relations, alam niya kung ano yung positioning that. Well, I don't have anything against Ambassador Manalo. No? I think right choice din siya. Pero sa akin kasi mas ko kay Ma'am Carlos when you talk about foreign policy, when you talk about international relations, defense, and alam niya yung history din ng mga bagay-bagay kasi scholar yan eh. Pinag-aralan niya mula pa noon hanggang ngayon yung history din ng mundo and all of these things na political scientist kasi. Pero well, andyan na yung sitwasyon eh. So, ayaw ko sa presidente natin pero yun ang ko actually dapat na kung magre-recommend ako, kung mayroon man akong karapatan mag-recommend, yun nga dapat ang napunta dyan sa DFA, kahit instead of NSA is Carlos. So,
tama si alam mo, nagmamangang pa sa Estados Unidos dito. Tama si Wang Yi sa pag-criticize ng mga statement ng G7. Ang US talaga nagsimula nitong gulo nito. Sila nagsimula ng crisis at sila that keeps on escalating the tensions. Yung provocation ni nefarious president. If this is not corrected, sabi ni Wang Yi, or countered, how could the principle of non-interference in internal affairs be upheld? How could international law be defended? How could peace in the region be censured? And we might as well cancel or abolish the United Nations. Magkanya-kanya na lang tayong alliances.
Parang
dangerous.
Kasi mawawalan ng saysay yung mga international international treaties mo, yung UN resolutions mo, international laws mo, kung hindi rin naman talaga i-uphold just because a superpower wants it, gusto niya kung anong gusto niya. Mahirap yun, no? Magiging tayo babalik tayo sa sinasabi na tinatawag na state of nature. Ang state of nature na sinasabi ni na Jean-Jacques Rousseau, yung mga political philosophers na in state of nature, magulo, walang order. Yun yung mangyayari sa atin. So tama, why not? They need to defend this. Kasi ito naman talaga ang dapat depensahan, di ba?
Okay.
Internal affairs, interference in the domestic internal affairs of the country is a basic international norm. Pero,
Okay.
diba?
Yeah. And sorry, naputulan ako ng internet for a few minutes, but I'm back. So thank you for holding the fort, Kaado. And you explained a lot already dito sa susunod na image na aking inananda. China on Thursday launched at least 11 ballistic missiles, some of which are thought to have flown over the island for the first time before landing in Japanese waters, Japanese EEZ.
Signal na yan Signal na.
Ano?
Signal.
Signal, Well, yun nga, pinapakita nga ng China yung kanyang kakayahan, kaya hindi na po lumapit ang Estados Unidos diyan, But before I go on, may reminder dito to sana bigyan daw si Kaado ng isang earphone and microphone na kahit na gumagalaw-galaw siya ay malinaw ang dating ng audio. We'll study that. Tapos there's a question here, hindi ko nahanapin kung sinong nagtanong, but bakit daw ayaw natin na makialam ang Aboitiz sa energy? They've been abroad daw for so long, they don't know what's going on. Well, itong self-serving po kasi talagang tubo ang kanilang inaatupag at napakalaking tubo, kaya ang ating kuryente po ay napakataas at pinakamataas sa ASEAN, at yan po ang dahilan kung bakit talagang mahina ang investment sa Pilipinas dahil talo kaagad sila yung mga industriya kung dito sila magtatayo ng industriya at export, lalaban sila sa export, talo ka agad dahil dun sa factor ng energy cost. Ano? Ang ating mungkahi ay ma-nationalize tulad ng panahon ni Marcos. Okay. So, yeah, I think I answered those two. But this item ko, after what I wrote na walang silbi ang commitment ng Estados Unidos dahil wala namang maitutulong ngayon na nagpakita ang China ng kanyang mga aksyon, military drills, missiles, and yung economic impact sa Taiwan. So ang tanong ko, kasi hindi talaga kailangan ng China na i-invade ang Taiwan. Ngayon, tulad natin, kita natin ngayon, kontrolado nila actually. Pero I think they're doing all this, including the economic sanctions, to show the Taiwan DPP voters. May mga bumoboto kasi talaga para sa Democratic People's Party na anti-China yung partido ni Tsai Ing-wen. So, ang tanong ko, will Taiwan youth still vote DPP? Are they still stupid after this experience? Let's see. Kasi the elections will be coming very soon sa Taiwan. Baka magbago na po ang ihip ng panahon. Okay, let's move on. So, ang pangalawang antas na tinaas ng China dito sa kanilang response sa Pelosi Taiwan visit at American strategy of ambiguity, ay itong mga sumusunod. Ito ay mga sinyales sa aking pag-aanalisa ng pagbabago ng China doon sa kanilang pakikipagtungo sa Estados Unidos na dati itong nakaraang 6-7 taon na trade war ang China pero maamo pa ang China, kung ano-anong insulto and napakarami. Pero ngayon po, tinigil na po ng China, suspendido po ang mga dialogue with US at mga the regional command level. Tinigil nila yung mga meetings with the US Department of Defense, yung mga dialogue, cooperation, and so on. And ito po ang mga hinahanap ko kanina, hindi ko makita, nakita po ni Ka Joshua. China has canceled the China-US Theater Commanders Talk, China-US Defense Policy Coordinating Talks, tinigil din. Canceled din ang China-US Military Maritime Consultative Agreement. Suspendido ang China-US cooperation on the repatriation of illegal immigrants. Suspendido din ang China-US cooperation on the legal assistance in criminal matters. Suspendido din ang China-US cooperation against transnational crimes. Suspendido din ang China-US counter-narcotics cooperation. Suspendido din ang China-US talks on climate change. So this turns the table around against the US. Ngayon ang US ang number one problema. Paano natin i-restart ang talks? Paano natin malalaman kung anong nasa isip ng Chinese side? Paano natin ipaplano ang counter moves? So ano mang sinasabi ng Chinese side? Kasi ang China has always been forthcoming, open, dahil yung kanilang prinsipyo itong nakaraang 7 taon, cooperation pa rin, pinipilit nila na mag-umunlad ang relasyon ng China at Estados Unidos sa cooperation. Pero dahil dito sa mga nakaraang mga ginagawa ng Estados Unidos at umabot na sa kasukdulan itong bisita ni Pelosi, ay binibreak off nila ang lahat ng mga usapan nito. And China also has sanctioned Nancy Pelosi and her family over the Taiwan visit. So ito po ay wala namang malaking importansya except the message it sends. Na itong mga individual na to na winawalang hiya ang China ay kanilang paparusahan. And this is what is happening now. And again, the maraming diskusyon ngayon, mainit ang diskusyon sa Amerika nga. Doon sa pagkakamali ng ginawa ni Pelosi and 2 former US generals, retired Admiral James Winfield Jr., who served as Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff from 2011 to 2015, and Michael Morrell, who twice served as the acting CIA director in the Obama administration, penned the scenario in an article for the US Naval Institute magazine Proceedings. Puro mga high-ranking military and military analyst po ito. Ang kanilang headline po sa kanilang sinulat para sa proceedings, that is an article for the US Naval Institute magazine. China can capture Taiwan in 3 days, says former US officials. Actually, what we see is China can capture Taiwan in 1 day. Dito sa
Half
military
day.
exercise. Okay.
In a half
Okay.
day.
So, Kaado has explained a lot of things about why China can do that, including why China can keep the American aircraft carriers and warships away.
Nasa home nasa home court ang China. Oh my God.
And idagdag ko natin yung mga problema sa Taiwan. Ang liit ng populasyon ng Taiwan at napakaraming ayaw na mag-serve sa military. Tulad nitong report ng South China Morning Post, August 5, 2022. Who will fly Taiwan's fighter jets? Pilot shortage dire as PLA tests the defenses of Taiwan. The island needs at least 100 more F-16 pilots by 2026 to operate planes it agreed to buy, but its Air Force netted only 21 from 2011 to 2019. Halos 10 taon, 21 lang po ang nagsali sa training para lumaban with these warplanes. Tapos Taiwan is also suffering declining birth rates, high-profile crashes, and vision requirements among the factors thwarting recruitment. Maraming Taiwanese pilots ayaw na rin sumakay ng mga binibili ng Taiwan sa Estados Unidos. Dahil napakarami, tulad sa Pilipinas, napakaraming crashes, air crashes, mula dito sa mga eroplanong sinusupply ng Estados Unidos. Yan. And then we will go to the next very controversial discussion, yun tungkol sa bisita po ni Blinken kay Presidente BBM. Anyway, let's look at some of the comments dito. Arlene Tobias is with us. Desimina, PBBM voted some bills that has interest with appointees. I believe this message gives the Secretary of Energy a signal to be careful of all his decisions in the future. Well, we are trying to help you remind PBBM, And Julie Merano is finally here on our comments, And Lawrence Robert Campos Halpin, Pinay Paparazzi. And let me see dito sa kabila. We're getting ready for the raffle at 8:45, Okay. Please list up. We have 2 prizes today, so your chances of winning something is very, very much higher. Okay, and Nenya Maitem. So dapat talaga ibalik sa government ang control ng lahat ng public utilities sa buong bansa. Kasi kahit dito sa amin, taas na rin ang presyo ng tubig at kuryente. Sabi ni Rolando Cruz, is the Taiwan pact to the USA the same as the Philippines? If so, therefore, the USA cannot support Taiwan unless with approval of their... Correct! At ni-review ko rin at nagbasa ako ng mga ibang nag-review ng Taiwan Akbang tawag doon sa Amerika. And wala po doong garantiya na sila ay magre-responde kung maatake ang Taiwan. So bakit naman? Yes,
strategic,
go ahead.
Yun ang nga sinasabi. Strategic ambiguity nga lagi yan. Kahit sa Pilipinas, ang MDT, may ganun din provision.
Yes. Sabi ni Rolando Cruz, Mentong, there is a blog in, I think, by RT of or CGTN, a volume of population in Taiwan are exiting Taiwan to going to China. Yes, I think 100,000 plus ay lumikas na ng Taiwan at pumunta po na manirahan na po sa mainland China. Actually, talagang ang majority ng Taiwanese ayaw ng gulo. At yan nga ang expectation po in the next election, baka matalo ng DPP at ang Kuomintang ang manaig, And that would really be good for the whole of Asia and of course for China. Kaado, anything to add? Ana, go ahead.
Oo, kasi kung ikaw din naman ang isang Taiwanese, gusto mo bang gulo? kung makikita nyo ang Taiwan, kung nakapunta na kayo sa Taiwan, makikita nyo it's a very progressive island, no? In terms of economy, infrastructure, ang maganda pa sa Taiwan is balance sila kasi yung kanilang environment, ang daming puno, parang ang daming forest. Sa mga forest nila, nandun yung mga bahay ng mga tao, very progressive ang island na yan. So kung ikaw ay isang taga doon at doon nakatira na you're enjoying peace and prosperity and you're okay as a person, bakit mo gugustuhin yung gulo, 'di ba? So marami sa kanila ang ayaw talaga. Kaya lang, well, ang kanilang gobyerno right now yung problematic. Kaya yan, matalo siguro yan.
Ang isang problema talaga nila yung mga kabataan. Kasi tulad sa Pilipinas, nire-recruit na NPA, CPP, and so on ng mga kabataan. Tulad sa Hong Kong, yung ginamit nila para mag-democracy demonstration, mga kabataan. Dahil na-control nga ng DPP ang gobyerno, pati yung education system nila, pinihit nila na maging anti-mainland China. So, yung ating laging naririnig sa Filipino lore, the youth is the future of the land. If it is not like, if they are not like what Recto protested against, miseducated. Miseducated nga ang kabataan sa kasalukuyan din sa Pilipinas, ganyan din po sa Taipei. So yan ang hope ko at least, no, na after this experience with the military exercises of China blocking out Taiwan with the 2,000 items blocked from exports to China, baka mag-isip-isip po yung mga kabataan dyan sa Taiwan na main supporter po ng separation or independence movement. Okay, let's move on. Blinken reaffirms U.S. commitment to the Mutual Defense Treaty dito sa Pilipinas sa kanyang diskusyon kay Presidente BBM. Again, tulad ng sinabi ko tungkol sa commitment sa Taiwan ng Amerika, anong halaga ng commitment ng US sa Mutual Defense Treaty? Kita po natin sa Taiwan ngayon, walang magawa ang Estados Unidos. Kahit na mag-fire ng missiles sa Taiwan mismo, ang China, wala na magagawa ang Estados Unidos kung sari-saring mga dahilan na ibibigay. This is what they did in the end sa Vietnam, sa Saigon, nagsi-alisan sila sa Afghanistan and so on. Magpapabobo pa ba tayo? Magpapagoyo pa ba tayo na maniwala dito sa US commitment?
Ang Ukraine.
Yes, ang Ukraine, siyempre.
Tingnan mo ang nangyari sa Ukraine. They will fight up to the last Ukrainian.
Ado, may reaction ka ba dito? If not, I'll move on.
Well, myth lang itong demokrasya ng Amerika. At mas malaking myth ang accountability ng Amerika. It is a fair weather partner, no? Ang Pilipinas, akala nyo ba mga Pilipino, may timbang kayo sa paningin ng Amerika? Abay, more than 20 years akong tumira dyan. Alam nyo ba na the Philippines is not even in the radar in Washington, D.C.? We are below radar. At ngayon, ang mga Chino, halos sa street violence. Gusto nyo ba tumira doon? Takot sila na baka yung mga Chinese, mga investors yan, mga second largest minority of Chinese dyan . And they have the power, they have the economic power to retaliate. Kaya mga Pilipino ginugulpi sa New York because this anti-Chinese feeling is converting into an anti-Asian feeling. Kaya kayo dyan, na mga Pilipino, lalo na kayong mga kaklasiko, sa San Beda na nandiyan sa Amerika na akala mo kung sino kayong magsalita at marunong pa kayo sa amin dito sa Pilipinas pag-analyze ng mga politika dito, mag-isip-isip kayo. Wala kayo dyan. You are a brown monkey among in a white American country. Kung yung mga sarili nilang rednecks, hindi nila mabigyan ng proper social benefits, kayo pa.
Okay. Si Mario Oliva sabi, gandang umaga, August 7 lang po. Now, pasali po sa game. Okay. Pakilista po dyan. So ako'y Pinoy, sabi niya? Yan po ang trabaho ng Amerika. Death and destruction sa progresibong bansa. Okay, and Max Coronel.
Kultura nila
Sabi ni Max
Ah,
Coronel, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
alam niyo, alongside great wealth and privilege, mga kabansa, they have massive prison population with indelible racist connotations. Ang gangs, ubiquitous sa kanila, and they refuse to address the issue. Violence is an American pizza pie. It is embedded in the US behavior, both at home and abroad. Hindi ba mismo si Donald Trump nag-incite ng attack on the very American Capitol? Ano pang gusto niyong ehemplo? Si Biden na demensya na. Aba, hindi ho. We are attracted to the founding fathers when they said, the land of the free and the home of the brave. No way. Wala hong isang salita yung mga gobyerno niya mga yan. I'm not talking about the American people, no? I'm talking about the American government and how they are not accountable to their very own people. What do you expect? They will be accountable to the Taiwanese, to the Filipinos, to the Japanese. They are risking our lives.
They're accountable to their oligarchs din. Tulad sa Pilipinas, maraming problema dyan sa oligarchs. Anyway, ito kanina nabanggit ko na, uulitin ko lang kasi magandang historical perspective po ito. Itong mga nakikita nating pagtutunggali ng kanluran at ng Asia po, mahaba po ang kasaysayan yan. Yung tinatawag na containing China strategy, hindi po yan 10 taon lang, 20 taon lang. At ito ay mga 300 taon na, 400 years na. And sabi nga nitong Taiwanese American, si Chong Xiang-Niu, sabi niya, the first country, and I asked Saida to research on this, we have more data, maybe in our next discussion I will narrate it. The first country that has ever attacked Taiwan with a warship was the USA in 1867. And the country that supported Japan invading Taiwan during the Muldan incident was the United States in 1874. So yung sabwatan ng US at Japan, matagal na din po yan. Actually, it's US, British, and Japan. Dahil ang ginagamit ng US, lalo na British, no, and the US, ay yung ambisyon ng Japan. Maganda yung spirit ng Japan talaga, yung warrior samurai spirit and so on. No? Pero nagagamit po ng kanluran. Sila ang nagsusupply ng armas sa Japan noon. Sila ang nagsupply ng maraming mga warship sa Japan nung Russo-Japanese War na natalo ang Russia. And so on. Kasi anti-Russia din. Noon pa man ang British at ang Estados Unidos. In 1874, the country that sold weapons to Japan during the first Sino-Japanese War, leading to China's defeat, forcing China to cede Taiwan to Japan, was the US. From 1894 to 1895, the country that actively pushes for Japanese containment of China and Taiwanese containment of mainland China is the United States. From the 19th century until today, so we can really say that the United States, can we really say, tanong ito, that the United States is our friend? We are being used to serve U.S. imperialist interests. So, my final point here, Kaana, Kaado, and to all our listeners is, we have to learn to think as a civilization. Yung kanluran po, yung Western powers and Western civilization, including the Vatican, kasama po yan sa strategic civilizational view ng peoples of the Western civilization. Not all of them know that this is so, but the ruling class, yung sabi kanina ni Kaado, no? But sometimes they call them the British ruling class ang may control ng US. Actually, the old European aristocracy, kasama po yan ang aristocracy ng iba't ibang mga bansa sa Netherlands, some of the oldest monarchies and so on. Kasama yung ang Netherlands po ang may-ari ng Shell, for example. So they have a tremendous control sa banking system ng City of London, the Rothschilds and so on, and so on. Andun pa sila may control. Kaya yung Davos World Economic Forum, yun ang koleksyon po nila ng mga young super rich na yan na siyang nagpaplano ng strategy ng Western civilization. Tayo sa Pilipinas, from tribal groups, we were suddenly forced to become a nation state. Is it real? I think it is not yet real. Kaya watak-watak po ang ating pananaw tungkol sa kasaysayan, sa future, sa history. Because we are only part of Asia. We were alienated from the Asian civilization. And which President Duterte has brought us back to. And I don't know if PBBM appreciates that. No? Yan. So Ana, si Ana is out for a while. Baka tigil lang But civilizationally, you have been living outside the country for 20 years siguro, no? And then you have come back. Ano ang tingin mo nga? Anong pag-asa ng worldview ng Pilipino being a solid, unified worldview?
Kailangan natin talaga ng strong leader. Kailangan natin talaga ng cultural revolution dito. Kailangan natin talaga ng revolutionary government. Ngayon, kung babakla-bakla si BBM, baka 6 na taon na, wala pang nangyayari sa buhay niya. Ang dapat na isipin natin, lalo na pagdating sa China. Ang China, very patient Tingnan nyo In cases of aggressive confrontation that violates territorial sovereignty, threaten human life, or challenge other core interests, such as foreign invasions, counterattacks made in self-defense, are appropriate. This is to ensure that the unjust violence is ended by just means. No, para mga Muslim to, mga ito. As a common Chinese saying, we will not attack unless we are attacked. We will certainly counterattack if we are attacked. Now, maliit lang itong aking Mandarin, pero ang sabi dito, babasahin ko, Ren Bu Fan Wo o Bu Fan Ren. Ayan.
Baka ikulong ka Mali ang mga intonation mo. Baka may kulong ka.
Mali ba?
Criminal yung sinabi mo. Okay, anyway, biro lang. Sabi ko baka ikulong ka ng mga Chino dahil sa mali-mali ang intonation mo. Anyway, biro lang.
Pagka Amerikano mali intonation mo, baka gulpihin ka pa Alam niyo, sabi nga nitong si Professor Jeffrey Sachs, no? The fatal expense of U.S. imperialism. The scale of military operations is remarkable. The U.S. has long history of using covert, and overt means to overthrow governments deemed to be unfriendly to the U.S. Historian John Coatsworth counts 41 cases of successful U.S.-led regime change for an average of one government overthrow by the U.S. every 28 months. For centuries. Yan ang nangyari sa Honduras, Guatemala, Iran, Haiti, Congo, Indonesia, Japan, Vietnam, Chile, Iraq, Afghanistan, and most recently, Syria and Ukraine in 2014. And if you will remember, the EDSA Revolution of 1986. Masyado maiksi ang inyong, ang mga kabansa nating iba. Masyado maiksi ang pananaw. No? Kaya nga kailangan natin ng mga sining katulad ng Made in Malacanang para ma-remind yung ibang tao na 36 years ago, niyari na naman tayo ng Amerikano. Dahil, after that, ano nangyari? Ayan, okay. After that, ano nangyari? Ano nangyari sa Pilipinas from 1986 to 2016?
It's now 8:45. 8:45, no? We'll take a break. Kung handa na po si Joshua sa raffle po natin.
Umabot sa 42%. Ang mahirap dito sa bansa natin.
Yeah, I know it. Sige. Go ahead. Conclude mo na para mag-raffle na tayo.
Patayin yung TV.
Ngayon, pilitin daw ibaba below single digit ang poverty level dito sa atin. Ano magagawa ng Amerikano? Amerikano dalawang quarter na under recession. eh di makakadepresyon na dyan sa Amerika. Paano sila tutulong sa atin? Ako nagtataka kay Bongbong, maaaring nakikiramdam lang siya for now, o nag-aaral pa rin. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. Pero yung sinabi niya sa awards ng for the promotion of Philippine-China understanding, yun ang tama. That China is our strongest partner and will be our stronger partner.
Okay.
Walang gera, puro economic lang, puro
Yeah.
tulungan lang.
Yes. Pero yung dating kay Rebel Chick, Kaado, ito na mga nabanggit mo, parang ni gusto ni Kaado okay ng war against sa mga superpower country. Wala po na resolve sa war. Sir, maigi po ang upuan at pag-usapan. Huwag po tayong mag-trigger ng war. Kawawa po ang mga taong maiipit. I don't think Kaado was calling for war. Kaado has always been calling for the
Baka
avoidance
dahil
of
doon
war.
sa binasa ko sa CNAS.
Oy, marami nang lista.
Amerikano po, war games po ng Amerikano yun, hindi po war games ng China yun, hindi ko po war games yun.
Okay. So we'll now roll the wheel of wisdom for the first, yung i-aklat po ni Kaado, or pwedeng pumili yung mga nanalo. Kung sino unang nanalo, pwedeng pumili siya. Pangalawang panalo yung LED light and fan.
Yan na.
So first name sino? Marichu Ramos. So Marichu, anong preference mo? Yung libro ni Kaado o yung yung LED fan and light? I-text mo na lang i-text mo na lang o i-comment mo na lang dito para kay Ka Joshua. Okay, Marichu, Ramos, no? Okay, and when you get your prize, please send a picture with your prize, ha? Yung ibang mga nanalo din, please send a picture with your prize. Hindi ko lang nababanggit lagi because we'd like to keep you in an album, all of you in an album. We spin the second time.
Yan. Rolling.
Rolling.
Up.
Sandy Magdiaga. O kayong mag-usap na kung sino may gusto. Well, of course, the first winner, si Marichu Ramos, gets to pick what she wants, the electric fan, emergency electric fan, or the book of Kaado. There's no vaccine for a virus called racism. Next week, ibabalik na po natin yung book ni Ka Mauro as a choice. Yung China, the Way, the Truth, and the Life. Okay, let's get back to the discussion. Anyway, sa Estados Unidos, matindi din po ang debate dito sa Pelosi trip. Sabi ni Peter, isang TV anchor po sa States, Pelosi is the only winner in the trip to Taiwan on balance. Sabi niya, walang panalo ang US yan. Well, I think that is now dawning on the Americans na kanilang strategy of ambiguity hindi na uubra sa China. At yung provocations ay hindi na din uubra sa China. Now, connecting that to our Philippine situation, sabi dito sa pag-meeting ni Blinken at ni PBBM at Blinken with the DFA officials, si Manalo by video, Philippines-US finalizing Marcos-Biden meeting in New York, sabi ng DFA. Okay. Well, of course, this is very, very unlike President Duterte, who never visited the United States. But alam naman natin, and siguro mapipilitan akong, for one, tanggapin na si Presidente Marcos may sariling estilo. Sinulat ko naman yan sa Global Times editorial some months back. Sabi ko, PBBM will conduct affairs in his own way. Si Kaado nga ang tumulong sa akin mag-edit at mag-form po nung title na yon. But I want to get the reaction of Kaana and Kaado on this. Let me just add the next frame. Let's see. Yung next one ay di-discuss natin. Hiroshima marks atomic bombing anniversary amid fears of a nuclear arms race. Ang anniversary po ng Hiroshima Nagasaki bombing is August 6 and 7, I think, magkasunod na araw po. Yeah, if I recall correctly. But let's go first to the Philippines-US finalizing Marcos-Biden meeting. Before I go on there is a, hindi ko lang makita, baka, there is a, yan, naalala ko na kung saan ko nailagay. Babasahin ko lang, if I can find it, dito sa kabila. Ito, may nag-post sa comment, no, sa FB. Sabi, kino-quote niya yung diskusyon ni Blinken at ni PBBM at yung sinabi ni PBBM, and I want your interpretation, Kaado, no? Sabi dito sa quote niya, Marcos told Blinken, the mutual defense treaty is in constant evolution. I'd like to think of it. What does that last line mean? I'd like to think of it. Pag-iisipan pa niya. Or he just likes to think that it's in constant evolution. May nakatago bang kahulugan dyan sa I'd like to think of it na walang tapos sa aking sinasabi dito. Pag-iisipan ko pa. So, binibitin ba niya si Blinken? So, anyway, let's go back to the main topics, of course. Before we go to Hiroshima, itong Marcos-Biden meeting in New York, and yung quote nga from the PBBM, I'd like to think of it, tungkol sa mutual defense treaty. Reactions, Kaado muna, may ginagawa si Kaano sandali. Kaado,
Yan na nga ba sinasabi ko eh.
ilapit mo yung microphone para malakas.
Yan nga ba sinasabi ko. Hindi tayo pwedeng lukewarm. No? Hindi tayo pwedeng ambiguous. Neither hot nor cold, sabi nga sa Biblia. No? Because, loaded yung dice eh. Unang-una, ang lapit natin sa Taiwan. Pangalawa, may mutual defense treaty tayo. Ano ba yan? Ano yan? Can we really side with China on this? Can we really side with the US on this? Bakit sinasabi natin may independent foreign policy tayo when we have a military alliance? Hindi pwede yan eh. The military alliance will make us, whether we like it or not, while it's still there, at hindi natin iaalis, will make us side with the US. Otherwise, tayo mabanata ng US. Hindi ba nyo naintindihan yan, mga taga-Malacanang, mga taga-Department of Foreign Affairs? May pact tayo. This was already debunked by President Ferdinand Endralin Marcos. Uulitin ko. When he made that forum with the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. on September 1982. Ano sabi niya? The letter of the treaty will apply. What will the letter of the treaty apply? That in case of an attack on the U.S. action will pass through their constitutional processes, which means that the President of the U.S. will have to get a resolution from the Congress of the United States, both Senate and House, to come to the aid of the Philippines. No? Now, sinasabi ni Blinken, kabaliktaran, we will come to the aid of the Philippines. Oh, come on! Ginagawa nyo lang yung interpretasyon na yan when it suits your wishes. Pero the truth of the matter is, sabi nga ni Ferdinand Endralin Marcos, that means you will be debating over here while we are already dying over there. Napaka-simple, common-sensical naman yan.
I think that's very clear
Tanggalin
now.
natin yung mga strings attached na yan para talagang madaling magbalanse dahil ang dice hindi loaded. Oh. Yun lang akin dyan.
Ito naman interpretation ni Ryan Pinebook, PBBM did not bite the bait, not only because of independent foreign policy, but also of a personal experience. He does not want the Filipino to suffer the same fate as his family back in Clark. Micaela is with us.
Ang tanong
Gusto
ko,
ko-
Mentong, pag sabay nagpunta sa Estados Unidos, sigurado ba siyang hindi babalik sa Hawaii para ma-exile?
Oo nga, kaya nga.
Napaka-bobo naman niya.
Oh,
You should not even give that 1% possibility.
okay.
Tatanga-tanga.
Sabi ni Micaela, gusto kong isipin na ang MDT is evolving or nagpo-progress patungo sa positive effect. Yun po ang tingin ko. So, yan ang magandang interpretation, no? And,
Positive
okay.
effect into what?
Yeah.
To have an expanded defense pact
Oh, baka naman puputulin
and to
niya.
patrol in the WPS with the US? That's Third World War.
Mm. So,
That's worse. That is worse than Taiwan independence. That action when you see the US patrolling the South China Sea, ano tayo? Hindi ba kayo nahihiya dyan?
okay,
Mga
sabi ni Brother,
white monkeys.
okay, Brother Jerry.
Well, these are considerations pa lang naman daw. Tinitignan pa. Pero ang headline kasi sa Philippine Star is like this, no? Philippines welcomes possible WPS joint patrols with the US. Another headline ng Philippine Star is wait, ano na ba yan? Okay. Yun nga parang ano daw tawag nito? The Philippines is considering expanded defense pact with the United States.
Okay.
So ano ibig sabihin nun? Is it an evolution of the MDT to extend it and to ano, or is it an evolution? Is it a positive thing for the country? These are things that we need to really think. Isip-isip.
Ang Philippine Star, of course, alam natin, killing sa Amerikano yan, pag-aari ni Manny Pangilinan na isang kasangkapan ng Estados Unidos.
Yeah, but I hope,
May chismis ako.
CBN also reported that, no? It's not only the Philippine Star who reported it. It was also reported by Manila Times. Hindi yun ang headline, pero nandun sa report. So it's not as if like, you know, it's something that the Philippine Star made it up. I'm not defending Philippine Star, but that is a news report.
Ina-highlight lang ng Philippine Star.
Balitaan nyo ba that ABS-CBN is buying 35% of Channel 5?
Oh, really? Oo, nabalitaan namin. Oo. Nag-issue din ang ano.
Sinita na kagad sila ng Philippine
Competition Commission, yes.
Oo. Medyo may nangyayari man. They're taking advantage of the naivety of the new president.
Well, we will give him time to, and we will help him, ano. Sabi dito ni Desimina, alam niyo naman, mga provocative issues, manood kayo ng RTVN. That's correct, no? That will be very helpful. Anyway, it's now 8:59. I'll just move on. Hiroshima anniversary, alam na po natin yan, ano? And the final point I am presenting now is si Francis. Pope Francis ay magre-resign na po, ano, sa edad. Ngayon, ang pangalang lumilitaw ay si Erdo at si Cardinal Tagle natin. Ano sabi ko, Tagle will be it. Si Tagle ang ipipili na palitan si Francis. Bakit? The West wants to charm Philippines to capture Asia. Alam po ninyo, yung Vatican ay integral part of the Western strategy po yan. Ano? And if anybody wants to bet with me, 50 pesos lang naman para katungaan. Sabi ko, the next Pope will be a Filipino. Kasi yun po parang Nobel Peace Prize, binigyan sila nila si Maria Ressa para mamangha ang Pilipino na ang galing pa nitong si Maria Ressa. Yung sinasabi niya siguro magaling din at tama sila. Pero hindi po naloko ang Pilipino. Well, last minute ka, Ana, ka Ado, what are your messages?
Well, kaibigan ko si Cardinal Tagle, kaya baka mag-apply ako sa Kristan.
Okay, sige.
Kasi Jesuit yan liberal yan.
Okay.
So baka liberal democracy will prevail.
Sige, Kaana.
Ako naman, ang ano ko lang, with a very challenging situation ng ating rehiyon at the moment, sana ang ating gobyerno ay mag-isip-isip at para hindi na sa huli ang pagsisisi. Ganun lang yun.
Okay.
Alam niyo ba Mentong, yung si Cardinal Tagle ay nag-aaral ng masters niya sa Catholic University of America. Almost every Sunday or special occasions, kinukuha ng Philippine Embassy yan para magmisa sa Philippine Embassy. Hulaan niyo kung sino ang taga-sundo at taga-hatid.
Ikaw, si Kado.
Si Kaado!
Okay.
Sa Kristan! Di kay Pope Tagle.
Okay. Well, Ka Joshua, bumati ka naman. Magpaalam ka muna.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah, hello. Please like and subscribe and share our post po. Please be there on Monday po. We will be having our forum.
Oy, oo nga pala ang Monday, no?
Monday,
May
oo,
Monday
10 o'clock.
pala tayo. Oo.
Oo.
Naka-flash naman yung natin poster, no?
Oo. Okay. So, see you again in our future programs in the coming days. Mabuhay po.
Tomorrow, 10 o'clock.
Tomorrow,
10
10 o'clock pala. Yung media forum po.
Via Zoom yung
Zoom.
iba.
Okay, magpapaalam na kami lahat. Ingat po. Lumalakas na naman ng COVID-19.
Happy Sunday!
Happy Sunday and happy week ahead of you. Okay.